Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more detailed videos. Maurice Benard has always been more than just an actor on General Hospital. For decades, audiences have known him as Sonny Corinthos, a character whose complexity and raw humanity have carried countless storylines. But when Maurice steps away from the lights, the cameras, and the scripts, there's something even more powerful about him. The way he talks about life, mental health, and the importance of true friendship. His series, State of Mind, has opened doors to conversations that so many people once felt too afraid to have. And when Maurice talks about friendship on that platform, it's not just words. He's speaking from his own heart, his own struggles, and his own triumphs. Friendship in Maurice's world is not about convenience. It isn't about the people who show up when times are good, or the people who want to be connected to someone famous. He's lived long enough in Hollywood to know that many of those relationships fade away when the spotlight dims. For Maurice, real friendship is about who stays with you when you're at your lowest point. He knows what it feels like to be vulnerable, to wrestle with mental health challenges, to fight through depression and anxiety, and it is during those moments that the real friends reveal themselves. On State of Mind, he opens up about these experiences not to draw sympathy, but to remind everyone that no matter how successful, no matter how popular, we all need people who stand beside us with honesty and love. One of the recurring themes Maurice shares is that friendship isn't about fixing someone. When you see a friend suffering, it's easy to think you need to offer solutions, to tell them how to make it better, to try to talk them out of the darkness. But Maurice explains that friendship is often much simpler than that. It's about being present. It's about sitting with someone in silence if that's what they need, showing them that their pain doesn't make them unlovable, and reminding them that they aren't walking through the storm alone. He reflects on his own relationships where people didn't try to solve him, but they stayed consistent, steady, and compassionate. That, he believes, is the true essence of friendship. In his world, friends are the anchors that hold him steady when the waves of mental health challenges threaten to pull him under. He has spoken openly about his struggles with bipolar disorder and how isolating that journey can be. But when friends step in not with judgment, but with empathy, everything changes. He describes it as the difference between drowning alone and finding someone who jumps in with you, not to carry you completely, but to remind you that you're not abandoned. These are the stories he shares on State of Mind, giving voice to experiences that so many people are too afraid to say out loud. What makes Maurice's perspective so impactful is that he doesn't sugarcoat friendship. He acknowledges that it's hard. True friendships can be tested by misunderstandings, by distance, by the natural changes of life. And yet, when you value someone enough to nurture the connection, when you commit to honesty even when it's uncomfortable, the bond that emerges is nearly unbreakable. Maurice often recalls moments when he's been corrected or confronted by his closest friends. At the time, those conversations were difficult, but in hindsight, he treasures them because they came from a place of love. A true friend, he says, is not someone who tells you only what you want to hear, but someone who cares enough to tell you the truth. Another layer Maurice brings to the conversation is gratitude. He never takes his friendships for granted. On State of Mind, he regularly pauses to acknowledge the people who have been there through his darkest hours, friends who have prayed for him, checked in on him, or simply listen without judgment. He believes gratitude is what keeps a friendship alive. When you stop and truly appreciate the presence of another person in your life, you begin to nurture that connection with intentionality. Maurice encourages others to express that gratitude out loud. Say thank you. Tell your friend how much their support has meant. Those small words can mean the world, and they can be the glue that keeps a friendship strong even across miles and years. Maurice also emphasizes vulnerability. For many people, especially men, there's a cultural expectation to stay strong, to not show weakness, to avoid leaning on others. But he turns that idea upside down. Vulnerability, he explains, is the gateway to true friendship. When you hide behind masks, when you only present your best self, people connect with an image, not with you. But when you allow someone to see your fears, your doubts, your brokenness, that's when a friendship becomes real. On State of Mind, he demonstrates this over and over again. He shares his panic attacks, his depressive episodes, His insecurities not because it's easy, but because he knows someone listening needs to hear it. And every time he opens up, he models how vulnerability can deepen trust in relationships. Through his conversations, Maurice draws a line between friendship and acquaintanceship. Acquaintances are plentiful. They're the people you know socially, the ones you smile at, maybe even laugh with, but they don't enter into the sacred spaces of your life. Friendship, though, requires intimacy. It means letting someone into the unedited version of yourself. It means trusting that they will not weaponize your weakness. That kind of connection is rare, and Maurice constantly reminds his audience to treasure it when they find it. He's quick to point out that you don't need dozens of true friends. Even one or two can change your entire world. One of the most powerful things Maurice teaches is that friendship is not only about what you receive, but also about what you give. He asks his listeners to reflect. Are you being the kind of friend you wish to have? Are you listening without judgment? Are you showing up even when it's inconvenient? Are you willing to walk through the fire with someone, even when there's nothing in it for you? Maurice insists that being a friend requires sacrifice. It demands patience. It takes time. But in giving of yourself, you find the kind of bond that no amount of fame, money, or status highlights the way friendship intersects with healing. There's something profoundly therapeutic about knowing you're seen and understood by someone who doesn't stand to gain from your success or suffer from your failures. Maurice describes it as a kind of medicine for the soul. He's quick to clarify that friendship doesn't replace therapy or medication or professional help, but it creates a foundation that makes healing possible. When you feel supported, you're more likely to take the steps needed to recover. When you know you're not alone, you're less likely to give up. And that, he believes, is why friendship is one of life's greatest treasures. On State of Mind, Maurice often shares anecdotes that illustrate these truths. He recounts times when friends intervened in small but meaningful ways. A phone call at the right moment. A word of encouragement before a difficult day. Even laughter shared over something simple. These aren't grand gestures, but they stick in his memory because they carried weight in the moments he needed them most. He explains that in friendships, it's often not about what you do, but about the heart behind it. A simple act can change someone's entire outlook, and those small ripples can last for years. As much as Maurice values friendship, he's also realistic about boundaries. He understands that not every relationship is healthy, and not every person who calls themselves a friend is truly acting like one. On State of Mind, he's talked about the importance of recognizing toxic dynamics. If someone consistently drains you, disrespects you, or manipulates you, it's okay to step away. True friendship is mutual. It's built on respect. Maurice encourages his audience to be brave enough to release the relationships that are harmful, so they have room to cultivate the ones that are genuine. There's also a spiritual dimension to the way Maurice talks about friendship. He often references faith, prayer, and the belief that God places people in our lives at just the right time. He credits divine timing for some of the most important connections in his journey. Whether or not someone shares his faith, they can relate to the idea that certain friendships feel destined, as if they arrive precisely when you need them. Maurice urges people to pay attention to those relationships, to honor them, and to recognize them as gifts. Maurice's message resonates deeply because it's not just theory, it's lived experience. He's walked through decades in the entertainment industry, a place where relationships are often transactional. He's navigated the highs of success and the lows of personal struggle. And through it all, he has learned that true friendship is the constant. It's what grounds him when the world feels chaotic. It's what brings meaning beyond the accolades. And it's what he wants everyone who listens to State of Mind to discover for themselves. He reminds his audience that building friendships takes courage. It requires stepping out of isolation and being willing to reach out, even when fear whispers that you'll be rejected. Maurice challenges people to take that risk, because the reward is worth it. A life filled with true friendships is richer, deeper, and more resilient than a life lived in solitude. And he knows this from his own story. Times when friends pulled him back from the edge, times when laughter with someone he trusted became a lifeline, times when simple companionship made all the difference. When Maurice Benard speaks about friendship, he does it with the authority of someone who has lived through storms and comes out stronger because of the people who stood beside him. His words on State of Mind are more than encouragement. They're an invitation. An invitation to cherish the friendships you have, to nurture them with honesty and gratitude, and to become the kind of friend who makes someone else's burden a little lighter. It's an invitation to drop the masks, embrace vulnerability, and discover the kind of connection that can carry you through the darkest nights. And as he continues to use his platform to highlight these truths, Maurice is not just teaching about friendship, he's embodying it. Every guest he welcomes, every story he shares, every heartfelt conversation is another reminder that we are wired for connection. We were never meant to do this life alone. And in the end, the legacy of a life well lived is not measured by the awards or the applause, but by the friendships that stood the test of time. So when Maurice Benard talks about true friendship on State of Mind, it's more than a topic. It's a lifeline. It's a testimony. And it's a powerful reminder for all of us to hold on to the people who make us feel seen, understood, and loved, because those are the relationships that give meaning to everything else. Come back to our channel for all your updates. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to my channel.